Good morning and welcome to CAD-1's presentation of Transportation Civil 3D 2014. My name is Stan Henney. I'm the Business Development Manager here at CAD-1, but more importantly we have Brian J. Haley, PE, our technical specialist on Civil 3D, InfraWorks, and most of the infrastructure products on my left and your right today, so he'll be presenting here in just a minute. We have a few housekeeping things we always like to get out of the way first, so bear with us. And first off, there's the console screen there. Now the minimized console is turned to an orange and white arrow, but nonetheless it does the same thing if you want to get the console out of the way so you can see the screen. If you're hearing us, which you should be, and if you could raise your hand, hit the raise your hand button so that we can see if you're hearing us. Looks like everybody pretty much is. That's good. And most importantly, ask questions. Type the questions in. Most of you have been on our webinars before, you know. Type your question in and we'll try and get it answered as closely to in context as we can. There's a few little items that we want to let you know about. Autodesk is famous for their many promotions, and this quarter is no different. We have several promotions, or Autodesk has several promotions going on right now where you can get a rebate of up to $1,500 on Ultimate Suites, Building Ultimate or Infrastructure Ultimate Suites, $1,000 on the new Premium Suites, or Premier Suites, excuse me, and then $400 on new seats of Civil 3D and AutoCAD and things like that. So that runs through the 25th of October. Good deal if you're thinking about some new seats to put a little Christmas money in your wazoo there, or Halloween money or something. If you prefer things a little lighter, there's some pretty good savings on new seats of AutoCAD LT, Revit LT. This is a civil presentation, so you're probably not interested in Revit, but nonetheless, it's there for you. And last, we have, oh sorry, got the best of you there.
Yeah, it did.
We have a couple things we're pretty excited about. You know, the Autodesk Infrastructure Suite and the Building Design Suites are really the products with Autodesk anymore. We talk about Civil 3D, we talk about Revit, we talk about, you know, Map, etc. And those have really become components of what Autodesk really terms the product, the Infrastructure Design Suite, Premier, Ultimate, so forth. So we're finding it's more and more important to do kind of an overview of the whole product suite, and we're kicking that off this year with our suite camps. On October 29th we have our Building Design Suite camp. On the 30th we have our Infrastructure Design Suite camp, and there'll be a lot of fun. Breakfast and lunch is provided, $175. We'll come in, we'll do a general presentation for about an hour in the morning, and then we'll have a series of 3 breakout sessions that everybody will rotate throughout the course of the day and learn a nice suites workflow, a good opportunity to see some things and so forth. So the seating is limited to 36 people for these each day, so and we're filling up fast, so if you're interested, get your name into us. And let's see, we've got our receptionist looking to her future. We actually have started a pretty fun program where we're working with student groups at universities, colleges, and so forth to provide training packages. A lot of the universities especially don't necessarily provide the training on the actual software that many students will need when they go into the workforce and start competing for actual jobs. And so we've teamed up with the Colorado Division of Higher Education and working with many of the universities and groups like the ASCE student groups and so forth. We're doing a presentation next week at the University of Colorado Denver's ASCE group, and helping find ways to help the students learn how to use a lot of these software tools that they'll need in their careers. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And last, before we get to the meat of this thing, we've got some classes coming up. Next week we've got a grading in Civil 3D class coming up on the 24th. We have a pipe network and part builder class on the 25th. That is very possibly going to be moved, but it will be sometime next week, probably either Monday or Friday. Instead, we have a hydrology and hydraulics class on the 26th, field to finish survey Civil 3D class on October 2nd through the 4th, and Civil 3D fundamentals on the 7th through the 10th, and then of course our infrastructure design suite camp on the 30th. And Mr. Haley, who will be speaking to you next, will be an integral part of all of these.
Yeah, I just want to point out real quick that the field to finish class, it's a great class. So if you've got surveyors that are in your office that just, I don't want to use the Civil 3D stuff, get them to this class. This class is geared for surveyors that don't have any experience with Civil 3D. So it is, here's Civil 3D, and you end up being able to use the tools and getting some really nice surfaces and drawings done out of it. So I do recommend it. It's a great class, so get your surveyors in there.
And one of the things that I want to throw in, and again, we're going to launch a class here soon. We're hoping to make it a no-charge class or a very low-charge class just to cover costs, because we're certainly not looking to be like vultures and profit from the recent flooding and all that it's caused so many individuals in their lives and so forth. But a lot of there's believe it or not, even this early in the process, a growing interest in how you use the Civil 3D tools and some of the other tools available in the infrastructure suites to do restoration work and rebuilding work and so forth. So we're working hard to get something like that set up and available to the government agencies as well as engineering firms that might be interested. So watch for that.
All right. So let's talk about transportation, shall we? Civil 3D transportation, it really, and I'm not going to focus on Civil 3D. I'm going to talk about the design suite. So we're going to get some InfraWorks and we're going to get some Civil 3D in here. So, kind of the workflow for most infrastructure or transportation projects, you got to start with the planning phase. Where do we want the road to go? Sometimes people actually build brand new roads. I know, it's weird. So where do we want this new road to go? We've got a highway right now. It's going around this mountain. It's just not working. Let's put it over there someplace. So we got to do some planning. We got to make presentations on this stuff to stakeholders and get buy-up on it. Once the planning is done, we have to get down to the design aspect of it. So I've done all this work in the planning phase. I don't want to have to recreate it. So I can, take what I've got and just continue with it. A lot of times you're doing rehabilitation, so you're not starting off brand new. You've got this existing road, and it was a county road, but now the city's annexed that area, so they want to upgrade it to their standards. So how do we rehabilitate this road to be into the city standards? And finally, once we get the design and everything done, we have to build it. So how do we go about building it? What tools do we have in Civil 3D to help with the construction side of things? And, as Stan said, we've all been affected by the flooding that's going on, some more than others. There's going to be a lot of road work coming up because of this. So you guys got to get ready for this. Just out of curiosity, if I can have you guys raise your hands for me real quick, how many of you guys work for either a transportation department of a municipality, county, city, something like that, or do work with them? I'm just kind of curious to see how many of our folks do that.
Just hit your
just hit the raise your hand button for me, please.
So it looks like, maybe some people don't know who they work for.
There's a hand, there's not a hand. There's a hand, there's not a hand.
It looks like about a third of our audience does.
Yeah, so you guys are going to be dealing with this, and it's something that's happening. I know Stan lives in Longmont. I live up in Johnstown, which is just off the Big Thompson, so we got to see a little bit of this firsthand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So,
I think that looks like Boulder Canyon there.
Yeah, that's this one back here.
Yeah, I think that's Boulder Canyon, and then the Pooter there.
Yeah. And then you got the Big Thompson.
I mean, excuse me, maybe that's Big Thompson.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one that is, but Big Thompson going through the canyon, all of that going up to Estes Park being completely wiped out. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So let's do it, shall we? Enough with this PowerPoint stuff. Let's get into it. So I'm going to start off with InfraWorks. So I was playing around earlier. I shouldn't have done that. So let me start a new project here. I'm going to call this one Transportation in, just Transportation. Sure, why not? So I'm creating a brand new project. So most of the time when you're in the planning phase of work, you don't have a whole lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not going to go out and survey many square miles to find the best route for this road. I'm going to be using what's available to me, GIS data. So most municipalities, whether it's the county or the city or someplace like that, has a GIS department that you can get the GIS information from. Sometimes, most of the time in my experience, they'll give it to you for free. Some places do charge for it, but that all depends upon the place where you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a road for the city of Loveland. So I'm going to create a model here, and I'm going to start bringing in some of that GIS data. I have all the existing roads from the city of Loveland, so I'm going to bring in a shapefile. So they make it available to be downloaded. So I'm going to bring in my road center lines that I have available from the city of Loveland. All right, so I'll go ahead and bring in that data. Right now it has no idea what it is, so I'll just go ahead and configure it. What is it? So I tell InfraWorks that, hey, these are roads. And then I tell it, it's got just as a default, 1 lane forward and 1 lane back. And I want them to look this way. So I'm just going to use a basic street here. So a street, 2 lanes, all right? I'm going to go ahead and close and refresh this, and it's going to bring that shapefile in, and it's going to stylize it for me.
Got some thinking to do.
Yep, it does. Now, if you notice, it takes a while to do this. It takes a while for it to take that data, process it, bring it into InfraWorks, and make it into something that it can display. Once you've done this process, it's really quick to open up the file after it's done. It's just the processing, the converting it into something that it can read easily takes a little while.
If you think about it, this is pretty phenomenal to be able to pull this into the system like this.
Yeah.
And make it fully usable.
And since we're talking water recently, it's on everybody's mind. I've got some water here. So I've got some lakes. So I'll go ahead and bring in my lakes. Using the same method I brought the roads in, only difference is instead of saying, hey, these are roads, I'm going to say, hey, this is water.
And again, this is no smoke and mirrors. This is from is it the city or the county?
I got this from the city of Loveland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I configure this data, and I say, hey, this is water. I give it a style. I'm going to just use this blind water style, close and refresh that, and it's going to bring in all the lakes in the city. And then I have another shapefile for the rivers that I'll bring in as well, or that I could bring in if my project was near the river, which in this case it's not. But it is near a lake, so that's why I brought it in. We're going to do a new subdivision next to Carter Lake, which is kind of up in the foothills above Loveland. The only reason I chose this area is because it's got some cool terrain. And again, it takes a little while for it to process, but I want you guys to see this and how quick it can be after it's done. So it didn't take too long. It did take a little while. But before I start bringing in the intensive data stuff, I'm going to zoom in on my project area. So here's Carter Lake, and we're going to put in a subdivision back here behind it someplace. It's probably National Forest, so nobody can build back there, but I don't know, I'm making something up here for the demo. As I'm working on my project, I don't want to have to be encumbered by the entire data set, so I'm going to go into my model options, my model settings, and say, you know what, I'm just interested in this part of the world. I don't want to use the entire model. I'm just going to use a bounding box. Where do I want it to go? Oh, I don't know. Maybe something like this, just around Carter Lake.
Well, what I like is that you're not only doing this for the demo, but you're messing with the man at the same time. Sticking a subdivision on
right.
government property.
So I've got other data. I've got terrain. I've got imagery. So let me go ahead and bring those in. So terrain and images are all considered raster data set. And let me go ahead and find those.
While we're finding those, Joe asks a question, is this infrastructure template out of the box or have you improved the styles?
This is 100% out of the box, unadjusted by anything.
And I will say that for most of our webinars, we try to do that so that there's no trickery or anything, no smoke and mirrors. Once in a while, you have to set something up, you know, kind of the Martha Stewart, the pie's already baked in the corner there, but for the most part, we try and be out of the box so you can kind of see what you can do with it.
Now, I downloaded a whole bunch of images for this area from the national map. And honestly, I don't know which one of those images are for this area, so I just went ahead and connected to all of them. That's why I like putting in this bounding box, because it's just going to show me the area around me. Now, before I go through and refresh, let me go ahead and refresh it. So let me refresh this, and we'll be able to see the imagery. And then I'm going to bring in the terrain as well. And like I said, I drew this bounding box just so I can see this area. Now, Autodesk has a presentation that they've done where they did, I believe it was, I want to say either 30 miles or 300-mile rail line in InfraWorks, all in one model. So this program can handle a ton of data and handle it really quite quickly. All right, so there's my imagery, and then we'll bring in the terrain as well. Again, terrain is considered a raster. So let me go find my terrain here for the city of Lebanon. So it's a DEM file. I downloaded this from the national map, and as you can see, I've got 2 image files. These are geotiffs, basically. It's a .img, but it is terrain. Now, if you've noticed, as I've done this, I haven't done a single thing with coordinate systems. Everything I've done is just, I want to connect to that data, I want to connect to that data, I want to connect to that data, and I want to connect to that data. I didn't set up a coordinate system for this project. I didn't specify any coordinate systems. As you bring the data in, I think I refreshed the wrong thing here. Oops. As you bring the data in, Civil 3D knows the coordinate system, or not Civil 3D, InfraWorks knows the coordinate system of the data, and InfraWorks always works in a coordinate system of lat and long. So I accidentally refreshed the imagery instead of the terrain, so let me go ahead and refresh this again here. Hate it when I do that. And this will let us see our terrain. And again, I downloaded all of this data for free. The only thing it cost me was the time it took to find it and download it.
And those funny YouTube videos you watched along the way. The dog getting a kitty and stuff.
And if you want to know where to find this stuff, basically you just go to Google. You go to Google, and you search City of Loveland GIS, or wherever it is you're working. And there's my first hit right there. So look in your cities and look for the county, and it's amazing the information you'll find out there. Just about everywhere I've looked, it's been free. For whatever reason, the city of Greeley has decided they want to charge people for it twice, because we paid for it with taxes. But anyways, I digress. So here's my model, and as you can see, I now have terrain on it. And I can zoom in. Now, through the web interface, this looks very choppy, but on my screen, it's really quite smooth. It's like playing a first-person shooter game. All right, so this is the area right here that we want to develop. It's a nice little flat area, but in order to get here, we got to put in a road. The nearest road that we've got, I don't want to come up over this ridge. That's a pretty steep ridge, so this road is not going to be of access use to us.
Let's just blow a hole in the ridge.
No, we want to keep the ridge because we don't want the nice people over here seeing the lake. Anyways, never mind. So we've got a road up here, and I want to start by connecting into this road. Now, I'm going to be using the Roads and Highways tools that come with the Ultimate Suite. Now, if you want to get access to the tools that I'm showing you today, you need to do one of two things. You either need to buy the Infrastructure Design Suite Ultimate. If you buy the Ultimate Suite, you'll get access to the Roads and Highways tools. If you don't want the entire Ultimate Suite, you could go with the InfraWorks 360 Pro.
Right.
And that will give you access to these tools as well. And you can actually, this is a lease type of a thing where you can just use it for a quarter or a year. So you don't have to spend the thousands and thousands of dollars to buy the software. You spend a fraction of that to get use of it for that term for the project that you're working on.
Autodesk is moving in that direction with many of their products, and it's really pretty cool that you can now...
You still have the option to buy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know.
And if we can talk more about that sometime, about what makes more sense in any given situation.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got everything done. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a proposal. So this proposal right now is my master proposal. It's as the current conditions. I am going to create a new proposal for this particular road. All right, because let's go ahead and just add a new proposal. And I'll just call this one option 1. Maybe I'm going to do 4 or 5 different options taken before the owner and those types of things. So I'll just go ahead and create my option here. This takes a moment because it's got to save the data. And oh no, InfraWorks has crashed.
Did it?
No, it didn't crash. I just shut it down. I just did that to make a point. I haven't saved it yet. I never once saved.
Oh, Brian.
I know. Can you believe it?
There's the dramatic voice.
Thank you, Stan.
Add emphasis.
All right. So, oh no, it crashed. So I go ahead and reopen up InfraWorks, and I want you to see how quickly this opens again. So here's my transportation. This is the one I just created. No smoke and mirrors here. And I'm back and running. And here's my model. So it automatically saves every time you make a change, which is pretty cool. So okay, I'm going to go make some roads here. So I've got my proposal created. So I'll come over here and look at my proposals. So as you can see, I've got my option 1 proposal and my master proposal. So I'm working in option 1. Go ahead and close my proposals now. And I'm going to create some roads. So I'm going to come over here to this little bar on the far left-hand side, and I'm going to choose Create Edit Features. What do I want to create? Well, that's what this bar up here is all about. I want to create some roads. What kind of roads do I want to create? Well, if you're using the highway tool, if you're just using InfraWorks out of the premium, you'll get this option. But if you're using the ultimate, you'll get the freeway, and the arterial, and the collector, and the resident, and the local. So I'm going to do a collector road here. So I select the collector, and I want to tie into the end of this existing road here. We already have a road here, so I'm just going to left-click near it, and I'm tying into it. Now, as I'm laying out this road, do I want to put curves in here? Well, yeah, I'd love to put curves in here. So I'll go to my curves, and then I'll go to my curve options, and I can put in a default radius. So if you're doing a long, sweepy road, maybe you put in a big radius. If you're doing a little tight road through a canyon, you'll put in a smaller radius. You can always come back and change them later. So I'm going to start off with a radius of, say, 200 feet. Just give me something to start with. And then, let's see, we'll come over here, kind of follow, let's see, where am I? So I'll go ahead and kind of follow along this existing road a bit. We'll cross over the stream. Maybe we'll have to put a bridge in there. And as you can see, it's automatically putting the curve in there for me as I move my mouse around, right? So I'm going to kind of do this pretty rough. I kind of follow along the stream here. And then eventually the road's going to continue on to service some other subdivisions, perhaps. But there's my road. As you can see, it automatically conforms to the terrain. It's not the best design currently.
Well, the fact that it even throws some sort of confirmation up there is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so it's not the best design. It's just a first stab at it. We'll come back and adjust that later. But now from this road, I want to put in a tee-off here to service this little subdivision. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go create another road. I'll do a local road this time. And I'm going to tie into this existing road, so I'll just left-click on the road. And let's see, we'll come up over here, and then maybe we'll, I don't want to do a spiral, so I'll just do curves. And we'll come up here something like this. No, I might have missed. There we go. So I missed my original pick. I didn't pick directly on the road. So I just used the little tool to adjust it and then put it back. Now, what I want you to note here is we actually have an intersection. Because I'm using the roads and highways tools that come with the Ultimate Suite, I can select the intersection and then choose, okay, well, what kind of turning radius do I need for this? Ooh, I need to be able to handle some trucks. Now this isn't a major highway or anything. This is a local road, so it's not like we're going to have the tandem trucks coming down here. So maybe a WB40. All right, so here's my WB40 template. I'll go ahead and select that, and you'll see the curve returns adjust for me automatically. Now, if I want to, I can come in and adjust each one of these individually. So if I select the little a gizmo is what it's referred to. As you can see, it's put a little taper on here before it goes in and puts the curve. Maybe I don't want the taper. I'll go ahead and just say, I don't need a taper. I just want to do the curve. Same thing over here. I don't want a taper. I just want to do the curve. And then if I want to, I can come in and adjust the radius of the curve simply by using this grip here. And so, I like this one. If you want, you can come in here and change the radius simply by typing it. So I want to make it 50 feet, and it adjusts to 50 feet. I'll go ahead and make the other one 50 feet as well. Perfect. I like this intersection. It's a good intersection. But unfortunately, this road right now, it's not quite going to work for what we're trying to do here. I'd like to be able to adjust the elevations of it because, again, because I'm using the Ultimate Suite, I can grab it, I can go to the View tab, and I can take a look at the profile for this particular road. So we're probably going to have to put a bridge in there. That makes sense to put a bridge over the stream. But the rest of it, it's not quite looking very good. So when I'm working on this road and I'm in the model view up here at the top, when I'm looking down on it, I see grips to edit the horizontal information of the road. If I pull this off into more of a severe view, you'll see my grips have changed. I'm now looking at the vertical design. So this vertical curve right now, that's probably, maybe I want to try to pull this PVI back a little bit. I can come over here and simply modify the PVI, and you'll see it change in the model as well. Now I think we should probably have another PVI up here somewhere. So within the profile view, I can right-click and choose Add PVI. It'll add the PVI to my plan, and it puts in a nice little small curve. And you know what? I think we should make this curve a little bit longer, so I can just grab these grips in the plan and adjust the curve length right there. Ah, there. Now that's a well-designed road, don't you think? If I do say so myself. And now I can come in here and start putting houses in here and whatever else I need. So this is the planning portion of it. I really like the new intersection tools. I think it's got a lot of potential. Robert was asking, can you get the same orientation on plan and profile? So I'm assuming you mean line up the plan and the profile. Not that I'm aware of. I don't think there's a button that says line them up. As I select it, you'll see the profile is selected. As I zoom in on the plan is wherever you want it to be. But as I work in the plan, so if you see as I grab this PVI in the plan, I can actually adjust it, and you can see it adjust in the profile as well. So there's no way that I know if to automatically line it up. You can pan or zoom and pan within the profile to see whatever you need. And up here along the top, you have a vertical exaggeration. All right, so I'll set that back to a 10:1, and then, oh, maybe not a 10:1. We'll go with maybe a 5:1 here. That looks better. And I can turn off things like the existing ground, the finished ground, the PVIs, the grids, the minor grids, all of that fun stuff. So
I think that the thing that I really think this is one of the best products Autodesk has come up with in a long time. And, you know, Autodesk even says it's kind of dubbed the Revit for the civil world or the infrastructure world. And I don't know how many of you have seen Revit, but it's really a fascinating product. It's been well adapted in the building industry. And this has that same potential to really investigate things quickly, try out different scenarios quickly, and then move from the thinking about it stage and the planning stage to the, okay, now we gotta put this thing to paper stage. So.
Right. Joe has a couple of questions. Can we restation, say, I want to, instead of starting at 1 plus 0 or 0 plus 0, 0, I want to start at 50 plus 0, 0, or 2 plus 0, 0, or 12. No. Again, this is the planning phase. Who cares what station it starts at? I just want to get a road in here. It does show you stationing, but as far as I know, it's not something we can change. We might be able to. I've never investigated it. Let's go to the road properties and find out, shall we? If we can, it would be here. Doesn't look like we can. So the stationing is just what the stationing is. If you want to reverse the stationing so it goes the other direction, draw it the other direction when you start. Again, we're not really concerned. This is not a design. This is the planning. Let's get a rough cut, right?
Show the approval committees, show
right.
the public hearing people.
Exactly.
You know, this is what
and Robert asked, the plan appears to have east to right, while the profile has east to the left. Okay. There. Now they line up. So you can view it from any direction you want. The profile, I don't believe, is something we can reverse. Yeah. It is the way it is. But again, this is planning, so you just look at it however you want it to look.
Right now, I think it's important to start, realizing that this can be added to a firm's workflow to help with, as Brian's saying, the planning process, so forth and so on. In the past couple years, we've seen a ton of tools added that, you know, are moving it more towards a true engineering tool. But right now, you just have to take it for what it's worth as part of the workflow process in the
exactly. And every single release, they've gotten it better and better and more and excitinger and excitinger. Yes, that's a word I just made up.
Yes, it is.
All right. So once I get my roads laid out here, let me go ahead and go to plan view here. Let's make north kind of be up, shall we?
Ring, ring. Oh, it's Mr. Webster saying, quit making up words, Brian.
And let me go ahead and close out my profile view here. So it just gives me a little bit more room. And with the main road, I can do the same thing. So once I get this all happy and designed and everything, I'm going to go ahead and export this to an IMX file so I can bring it into Civil 3D.
And I think this is one of the things that is most fascinating about this, is that you can, this isn't a throwaway. It's not like a SketchUp that you create this concept and then you have to start all over again anymore.
Exactly. So we're moving right now from the planning phase into the design phase. I don't want to use the entire model. I just want to do a piece of it. So I'm going to do a box. And that wasn't quite what I wanted. So we'll try that again. We'll start down here maybe. There we go. So that's the area I'm interested in. All right, if you know the coordinates, the latitude and the longitude, you can do that. Maybe I want the extents of this one file here. You can do things like that. And then where do you want to put it? So I'm just going to throw it on my desktop now. I already have one on my desktop from doing this earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and do this again, and it's going to tell me, hey, you've already got one there. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. So this is now creating the IMX file. So now I'll switch over to Civil 3D where we can start doing our design. And I'm going to create a new drawing. Now there seems to be, I don't know if this is something I'm doing wrong or if there's an issue with the software, but when it exports out the road, it imports them into Civil 3D as meters, but it doesn't convert the meters back to feet. So I'm going to pretend I'm working in the future where we finally made the change to the metric system like we should have done like 50 years ago. I'm going to go create a new drawing.
Hey, now, this is America.
And I'm going to use the metric template. All right, so I've got my new drawing created. I'm going to go ahead and set a coordinate system here. So I'll just edit my drawing system settings. We're in Colorado, so this is going to be CO83-N. So northern Colorado, right? And now I'm going to import that IMX file that I just exported. So under the Insert tab here in Civil 3D, I can import my IMX file. Oh, look, there it is. It's almost like I planned this. And brings all that data in for me. It brought in the existing ground surface. So if you've got a DEM file, and you're like, oh, this DEM file is huge. I need to get it into Civil 3D. Take it into InfraWorks, export out as an IMX, then bring that IMX into Civil 3D. It works really well. If that's, it's a great way of doing it. It is a surface. I can take it into my object viewer, take a look at it, and yes, there's my beautiful surface. It also created a surface for my transportation, for the roads, right? So it's there's my road. And I have another road over here from the shape file that I imported. But what I want to do now is I want to create a profile view. So I'm going to focus on my little road here. So in InfraWorks, I didn't get the option to name it. So let me go ahead and rename this. So I'm just going to double click on it. The name, I don't want it to be 8510. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to call this one Becky's Way. Name it after my wife. And it's, it's Becky's Way because it's always her way.
Well, I guess Becky now has her way.
Yes, she definitely does. All right. So the reason I renamed it is just to make it easier to find in the list when I come over here and I create my profile view. So I'll go create my profile view. Oops. Profile view. Create my profile view. This is basic Civil 3D stuff. The alignment name is going to be Becky's Way. walk my way through it. You see my profile display. So I do have a profile. That is the design profile. I'll go ahead and create the profile view, bring it over here, and there is my design profile. So if I did this in an imperial drawing, the profile would look much shorter because it doesn't convert it back to feet for some reason. I'm going to have to contact tech support, see if there's something I'm doing wrong or if it's an issue with the software. But it works fine in a metric drawing. So I know, let's all switch to metric. No. Stan just said what everybody else was thinking. I'd like to see the surface as well, so go create a surface profile for the same road. All right, I'm going to use the existing ground, add that in, and so I can see the existing ground as well as my design. So the design phase, I need to put in an assembly. So we create a corridor. So when we're doing a design in Civil 3D, there's three things you have to have. You have to have an alignment, you have to have a profile, and you have to have a cross-section. Well, we got two of those three things out of InfraWorks. We got the alignment, we got the profile out of InfraWorks. So I need a cross-section. If you're familiar with corridors, right, that's just a tool palette. That's just an assembly. On my tool palettes, I have some assemblies that are already created. I'm not going to go through the process of creating a brand new assembly. I'm just going to use the primary road full section. I know it's here somewhere. Primary road part. Am I not seeing it? Half. Oh, it's up here. Primary road full section. So this is just an assembly. This is what I want my cross section to look like. Ooh, that's beautiful. All right. Oh, you know what? This is a metric drawing. Actually, yeah, this should. Yeah, I need to change to my metric sub-assemblies. That'll help out a little bit. So I'll put it in my primary road full section. That looks a little bit better. All right, so I want to take this and I want to use it for my road. So I create the corridor. All right, alignment, profile, section. Take those three things, combine them together, mash them together. All right, give it a road. I'm going to use my favorite subdivision name of all times, Vista View Estates. Yes, that's a real subdivision in the city of Loveland. I guess this would be Vista View Estates 2 then. Choose the appropriate alignment, choose my profile, choose my assembly. If my assembly can target a surface, do I want it to what surface do I want it to target? So I'll have it target the existing ground. And just go ahead and build my corridor. And you can see how quickly this is done. There's my corridor in Civil 3D. And we have a road. That wasn't so hard. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of these. I'm not going to get into demonstrating them, but I do want to talk about because most of the roadway work that's done out there, or a lot of it at least, unless you're like doing a brand new subdivision, is rehabilitation, reconstruction, widening the road, doing a mill and overlay, those types of things. Civil 3D comes with a whole slew of sub-assemblies that are geared towards that particular stuff. And they're on the Rehab tab of your sub-assemblies. So one that I think is really cool is this one here, the Overlay Widen Match Slope. So if you're ever curious as to what a sub-assembly will do, just right-click on it in your tool palettes and go to the help. They have done an absolutely outstanding job with the help for sub-assemblies. All right, so basically what this does is says, okay, I want you to take the sample points, and I want you to take the insertion point of the sub-assembly, and I want you to calculate the slope between them. And then based off of that slope, I want you to put in this widening at the same slope. So I don't want to change the cross slope of, I don't want a break in the cross slope. I simply want to extend the current grade out. I mean, doing this by hand, you're going to have to recalculate this at every single one of your cross sections. so you don't get the bend in the lanes. This will extend that out for you. And you just come in here and you put in your different parameters. It's going to ask for the sample point offset. So I want to offset 10 feet, so I want to match the slope 10 feet to the left, 10 feet to the right, whatever the case may be. How wide do you want it to widen, and those types of things. So if you get a chance, check out some of these things. Let's take another look at one. So we got this overlay broken back between edges. Again, I right-click on it, and I go to the help. So I want to overlay. I want to match the existing curb and gutter. So I'm going to mill this out a little bit, but I don't want to have to mill all the way down, so it'll put in different depths for you. Mill and level. So we got a couple of different options here. So if milling is requiring, or if it's not required. And there it is. So, for those of you guys that work for like the county or the city, well, most of your work is rehabilitation. So check these things out; they're fantastic. All right, so I got a few minutes left. Let me.
Well, let's build it.
Talk about yeah. Let's go ahead and build this thing. So once I get the corridor created, what do I do with it? Well, you create cross sections. You create surfaces. Right? If you're using machine control grading, you can send that surface directly out to your machine control grading. So you simply grab the corridor and go to the corridor surfaces and have it create your surface. All right? Way over here on the left, you can create multiple surfaces. So I just want to create one for, I want to send this out to machine control grading for doing the subgrade. So I'm going to call this one datum. This is going to represent the bottom of my road. This is what I'm going to send to machine control grading. And I'll set this to 1 meter and 5 meter design for the style. Now right now this surface still doesn't have any data, so I need to add some data to it. We got two different types of data, links and feature lines. If your corridor is very prismatic, which means that the cross-section doesn't change much, you can get by with doing the links. If you've got a very erratic cross-section for your corridor, you're really going to want to use the feature lines for it. But in my case, it's very prismatic, so I'm just going to go with links. And I want to do the bottom link, which in this case is referred to as datum. So I add the datum link to the datum surface. Do not add the top link and the datum links to the same surface. That just can't happen. So don't do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the extents of the corridor as a boundary to this surface. I'll go ahead and rebuild the corridor. Oops, something odd happened here. Did I not get my boundary added? I did. Oh, there we go. Hit the wrong button when I went to rebuild. And there's my corridor. Let's go take a look at this. Now, you might notice that doesn't quite look right. Now, one thing I always recommend, let me do a quick profile through here. So I'm just going to draw a polyline across here, and I'll go do a quick profile. And we'll just throw it off here to the side. So as you can see, this datum surface really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So what's going on here? Well, I didn't put any overhang correction on my corridor surface. If there's one thing you take away from this particular webinar, so if you're not paying attention, pay attention now.
We see all those little yellow
Whenever
triangles.
you create a corridor surface, without exception, absolutely every time you create a corridor surface, always, always, always apply an overhang correction. I don't care if you don't have an overhang. Apply an overhang correction. If you don't have an overhang, it's not going to do anything. But if you have an overhang, in this case, I have two datum links that overhang each other. A surface can only have one elevation for any location. any horizontal spot, it can only have one elevation. If I have two links that overhang each other, it blows up. So if I assign, I don't care which one, just assign one. And now if I go take a look at my cross-section, hey, that looks a lot better. So what happened here? Let's go take a look at my subassembly. I have an overhang right through here. I have a datum link for my subbase, and I have a datum link for my daylight. There's two datum links here. So which one's right? Well, Civil 3D doesn't know, so basically what it does, let me, oh, come on. All right, so basically what it does, let me draw a polyline. Let me assign a width here real quick. Something like that. All right. So it comes along and says, okay, I've got a datum here. Where is my next datum point? Well, it's up there at the daylight. That's way up here. Where's my next datum point? Well, it's down there at the subbase. So it goes down there. Where's my next datum point? Well, it's up there at the daylight. So it kind of connects to the daylight. If I put in an overhang correction, it comes along, same thing, and it says, oh, let me put this on a different layer that's different color. All right? So it comes along and says, ooh, I've got a datum link here. I've got another datum link, so I'm going to follow along that datum link until I get to an overhang. Now I'm here at the overhang. Which overhang is correct? Well, if I choose top links, it's going to stop here and then go up to the top link and then follow along that top link. If I had chosen bottom link, all right, we've started over here, come along here, and now we got to this overhang, so it's going to continue along the bottom link, and then once it gets to the end, it's then going to go up to the top link and then follow along. So neither one of them is perfect, but it's a lot better than that white line. So please, please use an overhang correction anytime you create a surface. And now I've got the surface. I can export this surface out as an XML file, and then my grader, my contractor, can upload that into his bulldozer and build the road. All right? How do I do that? Well, I simply go to the Output tab on my ribbon, Export to Land XML, and then I can simply select that surface from the drawing, and it'll create an XML file for me that the contractor can then use. Sometimes we need to get a little old school and get some points in here. So I want to get points where, I'm just going to pick something. I want to know where the corridor daylights to the existing ground. I need to go out there and I need to stake that. I want to know where the limits of my disturbance is going to be. So I can go out and investigate this. So I simply grab the corridor. Under the launch pad, I can choose points from corridor. Another way to access the same command is under the Home tab, Points, Create COGO Points from Corridor. They both do the same thing. All right, where do I want them? Do I want the entire corridor or just a piece of it? All right, so I'm going to do it for the entire corridor in this case. And I'll put it in a daylight point group. So it's going to create a point group. It's going to take these points and put them in it. And then which codes do I want to import? So in this case, the only one I'm interested in is the daylight. So I'll uncheck everything else, and there's no other way that I know of to do this. All right, so I have just the daylight toggled on. I select OK, and it creates points at those daylight points for me. All right, so we got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Before we close it up, there is one thing I do want to, a couple of things. Let me go back to my presentation here. Oops. So you can always find us online. We are on Facebook. We have our own Twitter account. Follow us on Twitter. If you ever stop by the office, hey, check in at Facebook or Twitter or any of those other things. I also have my own Twitter account, C3D Plus, and I have a blog, civil3dplus.wordpress.com. So please ask your questions. I'll stick around for a few minutes. Looks like
we've got a question here. Robert asks, does daylight option include daylight cut and daylight fill?
So when I created the points, I'm assuming that's what you mean. When I created these points, I chose the daylight option. So it created it at the daylight line. If I wanted to see just where I was in cut or just where I was in fill, when I create my points, create Kogel points from corridor, I would toggle on daylight fill or daylight cut. So I can specify them differently if I wanted to, but the daylight does include both cut and fill.
Now, Brian, can you bring up our CAD-1 website?
Of course I can.
Please. And then if you'll kind of scroll down about mid-page there and to the left, this will answer Stuart's question. Stuart, we have our webinars archived. This one will be recorded and archived, in a few days whenever Denny's able to get it up there on our YouTube channel. But right there on the home page is our webinar archives, and the latest webinar is always posted kind of right front and center, and then the rest are all tucked away nicely in our CAD-1 page. So pretty easy to find anymore, and we do try to record all of these except the civil chat and things like that, because they're a little impromptu and sometimes silly.
Yep, so here you can see the last one I did here was Survey and Civil 3D, so you can go find it here.
And then Deb has a question. If you get an answer about exporting IMX files in feet instead of meters, can you please let us know? Absolutely.
Yeah, we will.
That's a big.
Yeah, I'm going to be submitting this to Autodesk this afternoon. So, and like I said, I might have just been doing something wrong. Hopefully that's the case, but we'll find out.
So let's see, anything else we want to mention? I really do urge you, though, if you have the time and you can sign up for the suite camp, the infrastructure suite camp, you'll get a much more in-depth and hands-on view of a lot of this.
Yes.
And,
and that is a good point. The design suite camp that we have is hands-on. You'll be sitting at a computer doing this stuff. It's examples of kind of what you've seen today.
Yeah. So good times for all. That's let's see, the infrastructure camp is on October 30th. So I guess if there's no more questions, we will wrap it up. Take a look at Mr. Haley's blog, though. It really is one of the best blogs in the country, and it's one of the reasons that Mr. Haley achieved Autodesk Technical Elite last year, Expert Elite. Lisa has a last question. We do only airport work. Do you know of any sources for data styles, etc., for InfraWorks that is airport related? We are having issues with creating runway markings for proposed runways. If markings are brought in from Civil 3D, they go under a runway created in infrastructure.
I don't know. I've never looked into doing airports in InfraWorks. As far as the markings go, you can create your own road styles. So let me switch back over to InfraWorks. So when I come over here to create a road, I can go choose my different styles. All right. So I can do my own styles. Now, one thing you can do is there is a styles manager. So I have a style palette. And I can come down here to roads, create a new folder called airport. And in here I can add new road styles. And so this is how all the roads that came with Civil 3 were created, including all the little bollards and light poles and trees in the middle of the medians and things like that using this particular tool. So in here, you can create your own runway, taxiway, whatever you need. So hopefully that'll work for you. Like I said, I've never actually done anything specific with airports and InfraWorks, so.
You know, maybe that's something, though, that if, I don't want to put something on you there, Brian, but I think probably it would be interesting to know if there's a source for data similar to the city stuff for airports. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not.
Yeah, and I imagine that Autodesk that's one area that Autodesk is probably interested in with this for, like planning new airports and things like that.
Well, they're doing a lot of, Autodesk is noodling around out at DIA an awful lot. They're real interested in that project. So we know a couple guys who are out there. Maybe we can ask them too. Lisa says the numbers are the biggest problem. Woodyear can't be beneficial to us. Lisa, the camp's going to be, general from the point of view of kind of broad-based, of course. So to say, will we work with airport specifically? No. But I would like to think, without hard selling you here, I'd like to think you'll get quite a bit out of it. And the classes will be small enough that, you can bring some of those questions like you're asking here and, hopefully get a little bit of a chance to explore around some of these ideas anyway.
Yeah.
You might also consider, doing a styles class or something like that for your group if you haven't already, that we could help you make some of these definitions.
And I've worked with quite a few people that have done airports. I just haven't done any in InfraWorks. And, the taxiways and the runways, as far as Civil 3D goes, they're just big, wide roads. And the markings, yes, those can be a little bit more complicated. You're talking about putting numbers on runways and things like that. I'm not exactly sure what the best way to approach that would be in InfraWorks, but I'm sure it can be done.
Well, I do know, because I've been out at DIA during one of their presentations. There's a gentleman who works with Autodesk by the name of Doug Eberhard, who's with their, huge major account team. He lives here in Denver. He's a great guy, and he created a whole InfraWorks model of DIA with the runways and the existing terminal and the proposed terminals and all of that. I will see if Doug might have some clues as to where we can get some of that information for you.
Okay. Excellent.
Good. All right, let's see.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I think that's all the questions we had.
We won't cover Revit on the infrastructure day, Lisa, but we will cover it on the building day. So, if you want to send somebody to the building day and then somebody to the infrastructure day, you could maybe do that and go from there. Again, we'd be happy, Lisa. We're, again, not trying to hard sell you, but just to solve some of your issues. If you wanted to set up a class for just your group, we could, do some tag teaming on some of these subjects for you as well. So let us know if that's appropriate. All right, folks, thanks very much, and see you in the funny papers. Bye now.